Here are some of the wildest and most fascinating stories from the Joe Rogan podcast. Perfect to wind down your night, or maybe keep you up thinking. From deadly jungles in Venezuela to secret government operations surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and even a comedian who swears his house is haunted. Yeah, this one's got a little bit of everything. Let's start with the insane story of Merlin Tuttle, the guy who risked his life in the jungle, all for the love of bats.
So the village that we were staying with, the guys informed me that now way up the river, 30 miles or so, there was an area that I would love to have collected in, but I couldn't because it was controlled by a group of Yanomamo that had shot at everybody who had ever gotten near there and, shot arrows. And so I was afraid to go up there to do any collecting. But then our group of Yanomamo informed me that these guys had gone off on a raid to attack another group and probably wouldn't be back for a couple of months. So I got brave and went up into their area where I didn't think they were going to be with a young man, Venezuelan, who worked for me. And we had just parked our dugout canoe on the bank and had gone out into the woods to set nets for bats when we hear 100 or so, maybe not 100, but a goodly number of Yanomamo men coming down the trail. And we immediately thought, oh my God, we're going to be absolutely dead ducks if they find us. But I did know that they don't usually go after their quarry. They usually wait in ambush. So we hid out in the jungle until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then tried turning our lights really dim and sneaking along without making any noise to get back to our canoe and hoping they were asleep. And we'll never know whether they were asleep or not because we did get shoved off and got away. But the very next night, we were stupid enough to think we had gone far enough away that they wouldn't find us, and we went back and tried to net again. And then we heard jaguar noises. And I had a Yanomamo and a Maikitari Indian working for me, and they immediately started warning me, that's not El Tigre. That's the Indians that we're trying to avoid. And
they're just making jaguar noises.
Right, to communicate among themselves.
Oh, wow.
But I insisted. I thought that these guys were just trying to get out of work because I'd been working them pretty hard and that they wanted to go to bed early that night. So I didn't really take them very seriously. And I went off with my shotgun. Back then we were collecting everything from jaguars to mice. And so in those days it was a big macho thing to shoot a jaguar. So I go off with my shotgun to hunt the jaguar, and it kept moving too fast without noise in between, and I finally dawned on me that, hey, this is more like Indians than jaguars to me even. I went back, and my guys were just ready to actually abandon me and leave me. They were so scared.
Oh, no.
We didn't even take the nets down. We got out of there as fast as we could, went back to camp, and the next day when we came back to get our nets, all the main strands of the nets had been stolen, proving that these were Indians that were after us. And we probably just got out in time.
Woo! So that's the most danger you've ever been in.
I don't know. I mean, there was the time I was crawling into a cave and on my belly in a narrow passage, and all of a sudden found that there was a big cobra coming out, and I had to lay perfectly still so that the cobra didn't get upset while he was going by.
So you had to lay perfectly still while the cobra slithered by you?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And there was the time the river bandits came after us.
River bandits, where was that?
That was in Venezuela on the Costa Chiari Canal. We're getting into stories that probably ought to be told at another time when we're not distracting from bats, but
no, they're fun. We could go back to bats.
To put a long story shorter, the Costa Chiari Canal is the world's longest natural canal, and out in the middle of it, there are just no humans around. And we were camped out there collecting for the Smithsonian. But I carried a lot of small cash to do business when I did come to where there were villages. The small cash was hidden in false bottoms of trunks. The way I got the cash, we were funded through a military grant, and anybody that knows anything about the military knows they've got every restriction under the sun on their money and accounting for it. I had known that their rules weren't going to work very well for collecting, and so I had gotten bids from plane charter companies to fly us out to this remote savannah, and they were going to charge a lot of money because it was risky to the planes, and so I got the military to send the money to the Bank of America in Caracas, and then this was time when you had machine guns at the door of every bank, and I mean it was a dangerous time in Venezuela, period. Well, we pretended to change Christmas gifts, and that's how we got our money into small change and took it back to our hotel. Then we put it in false bottoms of trunks. Then we go out to the frontier, and after a while the word kind of gets around that these guys can always pay for something. They must have some secret supply of money. So one day we're out at this remote camp, and my Venezuelan helpers, Indians, came running up saying, oh, in Spanish, cuidado, the not vandals, but the robbers are coming. And they were coming up the river in a little motorized dugout. And so that's how my guys heard them in time to know that they were coming, and then they saw them and realized who they were. And so I had just a couple of minutes. It's kind of interesting because I was reared to be a conscientious objector and, didn't believe in fighting in war. And so here we are with the bandits coming armed with shot. It was kind of interesting. They had old muzzleloader guns that they actually used rocks and black powder still to shoot. But here they're coming, and I'm responsible for 8 or 10 people, their lives. And am I going to be a conscientious objector, or what am I going to do? And so I broke out all the guns we had, gave everybody one of the, everything from an M1 rifle to a couple double-barreled shotguns, pistols, and got everybody positioned behind rocks and logs. And then as the bandits approached, I yelled down to them in Spanish that we understood who they were, and if they touched that rock, we were going to kill them. And they kept coming. And so I finally had everybody show themselves and their guns and yelled one more time. And the last time I yelled, they were within a meter of hitting the bank. And at that point, we'd have had to kill them.
Whoa.
But they finally, at the last minute, when they saw they were outgunned and that we had the upper hand, they backed up and went off.
That ought to be hair-raising.
It was.
Ooh.
But I learned a lot about my conscientious objector ideas.
You're ready to abandon it.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to let good people die just because you don't believe in firing a gun at a human?
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
Yeah.
A very important lesson to learn, right?
Yeah, it was an important one for me.
Boy, you've had some pretty amazing experiences just studying bats around the world. It's been a wild life, I bet, huh?
Well, I've never chosen to get myself into big adventures, but
The adventures chose you.
one of my all-time favorite things to do is to go places where almost nobody's ever been. Like when I went out to see the Shamatari Indians, I had to hike 46 miles across country from the last Yanomama village to get out there and see them. And I just went out there. I mean, I knew it was dangerous. How dangerous, I didn't know, but I just was driven by curiosity. Here's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see a group of people that have only seen two other outsiders in their whole existence. And it was just so much fun going out there and experiencing that kind of thing. But I certainly got into high adventure while I was out there.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So you got to hike. How long did it take you to hike 46 miles to get to them?
Well, we did it in a day and a half. I had a 40-some pound pack. We went extra fast because I did not know when we started on the trip that the reason these two Shamatari came out to visit our Yanomamo group because they were looking for allies in a battle. They're expecting to be raided by another tribe.
Whoa.
And I didn't know this is why they were there. But when I asked through my interpreters, and let me point this out too, when you watch a movie and they're speaking pidgin English, you know, there's no such thing as a place where people are really Aboriginal and you're speaking pidgin English to them. Everything I said on that whole trip out there had to be translated by me from English to Spanish, and then from Spanish to Maikitari, from Maikitari to Yanomamo, and from Yanomamo to Shamatari.
Oh, my God.
You can imagine there were a few miscommunications.
Oh, my God.
So,
what year was this? This was happening?
This was 1967.
Okay, so clearly there's no cell phones, no other ways of communicating.
Right.
Wow.
So we did not know that these guys were expecting an attack until we had already left with them to go out to their village.
Oh, boy.
And what we eventually found was that the reason they welcomed us so strongly was that they thought we'd bring our bang sticks with us, meaning guns, and be good in the battle.
Oh, boy.
And so by the time we got there, well, we found out that we had to camp out along the trail the first night, and we found out that they were expecting an attack. My two guys, I had to have a Yanomamo and a Maikitari for the translations to go. And incidentally, they knew enough that they wouldn't go. I had a terrible time getting them to go. When I finally convinced them, I had to pay them a month's wages for every day they went out there with me. So that first night, we set up camp by a beautiful stream in the jungle, and then my guys got really suspicious when our two Shamatari hosts went off by themselves quite a ways away in a hidden place in the jungle to put up little shelters for their night. And so they got suspicious, went and checked, and found that they were worried about being attacked. And they were leaving us out on the trail to be the bait. Oh. And but the next day we arrived out there, and my Maikitari guide had experienced, he had been in a Yanomamo village during an attack once. And so since we knew they were thinking of being attacked any time, he instructed me what to do if we were attacked. And he said, right off, play dead. And we were thinking that the attack might come at night. And sure enough, the very first night we're there, I mean, talk about scary experiences. Long before we thought we were being attacked, there were people that had malaria, and there were guys getting really high on drugs to chase the hikura, the devils, out. And they were going around
the devils out?
Right.
What do you mean?
They believed that everything was attributable to spirits.
Even malaria?
Yeah. There were good spirits and bad spirits. They hadn't evolved to think of one God and one devil. There were just a lot of spirits with good ones and bad ones. And they were trying to chase the bad ones out of the village by getting high on dope and then shooting those curare-tipped arrows at the hallucinated images.
So what drugs were they getting high on?
Eben. It's a powder that I'm trying to think what they make it from a vine, I believe.
And what is the psychedelic substance in this drug?
They blow it up their noses.
Oh, okay.
If you go to my website, there's a place on the website where you can. I'm trying to remember. We can tell you later exactly how to get to it. But I've got a place on my website where you can actually see that trip. Me out there with. I had a movie camera with me. You can see them blowing the dope up their nose, and I've got it on film right up until the guy tried to attack and kill me.
Next up is a former CIA agent breaking down the dark, twisted mystery of Jeffrey Epstein, pulling back the curtain on a case the world still can't fully explain.
Well, how about the other
So
prince?
you got to go to again.
How about the other prince, the one that's Epstein's friend?
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
What?
Yeah.
First of all, how odd is that
Yeah.
guy when they're interviewing him and talking to him?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
The Queen kicked him to the curb very quickly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
What is your take on this whole Epstein thing? First of all, can we just agree? Look at that. So
Yeah.
you sure she's 18?
So you're telling me that, yeah.
She does not look 18. She looks 16. Are you sure? You sure?
Man, what a shit show that is.
Yeah, what a shit show. So let me ask you this right off the bat.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to ask you. He didn't kill himself, right?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
No.
There's-
You know,
the
and you know
one
me,
peop-
I'm not a conspiracy guy, right?
Right.
I don't disappear down rabbit holes very often, but no, I don't think there's any way in hell he killed himself.
Michael Shermer, who's the head of Skeptics magazine, who doesn't believe anything, found out that the tapes were missing and that the cameras didn't work and that the tapes were accidentally deleted from the first time he
Yep.
attempted suicide. And Shermer's like, oh, this is a conspiracy. Like, it was enough evidence that one of the biggest a professional skeptic.
Yeah.
Professional, he doesn't believe anything.
No. There's no way I could be convinced that he offed himself.
No way.
So, and,
He knew too much.
Yeah. And you know, it's astounding, but yeah, what a shit show. But you know, nobody's going to get to the bottom of anything.
But that's a crazy one. Like, they got him in the jail. The guards are somehow or another getting in trouble, so who knows what the guards are going to say. They might get suicided. My favorite part was the guy they chose for his cellmate. Do you see the fucking gorilla they chose for his cellmate?
Yeah, reminded me of that old Richard Pryor movie. I don't know if you remember that one.
The guy, look at this fucking guy.
Yeah.
This giant Goomba, this huge Italian ex-cop who's a murderer and a drug runner. I mean, this guy is built like a brick shit house, and this is Epstein's cellmate.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, you can't even make this stuff up. Like,
Says he never touched him.
Of course. Why would I touch him?
Nicholas Tartaglione.
Yeah. What does it say? Timeline of events in quadruple homicide? Is that what it says?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So this fucking guy, this giant.
He likes dogs, though.
Yeah, he loves dogs. They keep him from all the people that he killed. They bark when they're coming around. You can grab your gun. It's a good move. It's just crazy. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that are so ridiculously obvious. And then when you find out that Clinton flew with him at least 26 times.
Yeah.
26 times.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jeffrey's a good guy.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those things. And again, I'm not a buyer on these sort of things, but you look at it, you look at the facts around, and you think there's no way in hell. Yeah. That guy must know you. You would have thought that Epstein would have said to himself, "I'm gonna get killed here if I'm not careful."
Well, he probably didn't think it was ever going to get to the point where they were actually jailing him. You know, when they
that's
actually
true.
got, because remember he had that deal where he was on work release, so he could just do whatever he wanted and fuck off for 16 hours a day. Then he had to check into the jail at night.
Yeah.
And who even knows what that means? He might have checked in and just went home again. And it seems like they had set something up for him to make it very easy for him to be incarcerated for what should be a pretty heinous crime. I mean, he was
You would think, yeah.
sex with underage girls,
Right.
and
Sex trafficking.
Yeah,
I mean, not
sex
just
trafficking.
him doing it. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it's just the extent to which, and so yeah. But then you look at I forget what her name is. His
Giselle?
assistant Giselle. Yeah.
what is his name? Ghislaine?
I don't know,
Ghislaine,
Ghislaine
something.
How do you
Maxwell.
say it? What do you say?
It has an S in it, but I've heard it pronounced with the S or without. So Ghislaine or Ghislaine.
Okay.
I don't know.
Ghislaine or Ghislaine, whatever.
Just
G.
depend,
Let's
yeah.
call her G Rocker.
Yeah.
So G Rocker's out there hiding in the bushes in Colombia or something, right?
Where is she? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I
know.
mean, she must be you would assume they've deposed her at this point, or
She must have something. She must have some fucking kill switch where if the shit goes down, all the Clinton tapes come piling out onto the fucking floor of
somebody
Glenn
must
Greenwald's
have.
house.
You would think. Like, yeah, you brought it around to Glenn Greenwald.
Hey, Glenn, it's Bill. Can we talk?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I should convince. there she is. Yeah.
That's when she was at In-N-Out reading a book on ex-CIA agents who have been murdered. That's literally what she was reading a book on, right? Wasn't that? Yeah. It was about CIA operatives that have been murdered. So the idea was that what they said, what people believe, and there's many different versions of what people believe, but look how many pictures she posed for. It's so strange. But what many people believe was that what he was doing was compromising a lot of these wealthy, powerful people by getting videotapes of them hooking up with young girls, including Prince Andrew, right?
Yeah. And for whatever reason,
Have you heard of anything like this before? Is this something that's been done in the past?
Not that I've heard of. I mean, I'm sure it's anytime you see some freak show, it's never the first time it's happened, right?
Right.
I mean, it's so you have to assume it's happened, but to the degree that it's got this level of celebrities and big time names, I mean,
It works so well. And I'm going to tell you something after the show's over. I'll tell you something after the show's over. But
you can just tell me. It's just you and me talking. I mean, yeah. If you whisper,
I hear you in my ears.
The North Koreans
like, really
used to do
loud.
that. Sorry about the North Koreans used to. That was their phone security. Is they would get on the phone and when they had something really classified to talk about, they would whisper. Yeah. So I think, good.
That's hilarious.
We'll never figure that out.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Really, that's how they did it?
Yeah. Well, part of it was years ago. I think they just never believed any Westerner could understand Korean. I think that was kind of part of it. Was that they just believed we were all too stupid, or we were just so complicated that we'd never be able to figure out what they were saying in their own language.
That's the price you pay for being so insulated,
Yeah,
right? You don't really understand what's really going on in the outside world because they don't really have the internet.
When was the last time we talked about North Korea?
It's been
Look at
quite a
that.
while.
We just pushed that right off the front.
But to get back, we can talk about North Korea. But to get back to this Epstein thing, is that a common strategy that intelligence agencies would use, where they would try to compromise people in order to get what would be the benefit if you had if the Mossad was doing that and they were doing that and using that's the theories that Epstein.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I'd say from an intel services perspective, I mean, one thing I will say is the U.S. And people are never going to believe this because I'm saying it. They'll say, "Oh, that's bullshit." But the U.S. The agency doesn't do that. We don't use honey traps. We don't do that sort of thing because that sort of leverage it's always going to head south on you. And so we don't, try to coerce somebody in that sort of a relationship that then we can take advantage of. And yet other services do. The Russians being one of them, they do that all the time. Israelis, they've had some very successful efforts to do that. And if you get somebody in that position, it really doesn't matter how they're compromising themselves, whether you're putting themselves in with like an Epstein situation where suddenly you've got them, you got video of them with an underage person, or whether they've provided a document that they shouldn't provide. It's all this. The concept is always the same, right? It doesn't matter what that action is. You're getting them on the hook. You're getting something that's leverageable over them, and if they don't just go forward immediately, say, and turn around to their boss and say, "I'm guilty, did this, sorry," then they're compromised. And then you've got them. As an intel service, you've got them. You can start reeling the hook in because now you know that not only did they do something that provided you with a document, even if it was an unclassified document. If I go to somebody, if I'm developing a relationship with somebody, some target overseas or whatever, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm exploring. This person's got access. They're in an interesting position. They're in an interesting job. And they've got access to information that we want to know. That's priority target. And then I want to say, okay, now I want to develop a relationship a little bit. Maybe I bump into the person at a few parties. Maybe we're in the same parent-teacher organization, whatever the shit is, right? And our kids play on the same soccer team. So then I go and I think, okay, what do I want to do? I want to test the waters a little bit. I'm not going to say, hey, listen, I understand you work at the foreign ministry here in whatever country you happen to be in. How about you give me some documents? But instead, maybe it's something different. Maybe they work at the foreign ministry. Maybe they work at a aerospace business. That's a target. And you say, but you've developed a bit of a relationship, and then you say, yeah, my kid's doing this school project, and it's all about whatever hypersonic flight, and that they work at some aerospace company, and say, do you have anything just on hypersonics? And you're not looking for anything classified. You're just looking for a research paper or a study or something, And if they come back and say, yeah, you know what, here, this is an interesting, study, and they now that act alone, they're not giving you something classified, but that act alone means something big, right? It means they were taskable in a sense, right? They responded to your request for information.
They're suckers.
Not suckers necessarily. It could be an enormously smart person, but and smart people they get suckered into it. I guess you could put it that way. But so anyway, then you go from there. Then you ratchet it up slowly, bit by bit. If you've got the time frame to do it, maybe sometimes you've got a shortened time frame because there's a requirement to get something, and you got to accelerate the whole process. Anyway, but point being is it's all leverageable, and Epstein was obviously getting leverage on all these different people for whatever his purpose was.
What do you think? That's what the question is. Like, what could he possibly? A lot of them were scientists. He went with a lot of celebrities. There was heads of state.
I don't think he needed money.
Right. Well, what was he?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he just, who knows? Maybe he got off on sort of being the kingpin in this whole thing, it's a good question.
It had to be funded, right? So I mean, there had to be something valuable that they were getting from it. I'm guessing.
I don't know.
It hasn't been spelled out to me.
Yeah.
I've tried to figure out the angle, but I get the idea of you would have leverage over these people, you'd have them in compromising situations, and then they would do things for you. But what would they do for you?
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah. What is he getting Bill Clinton to do for him?
It's a good question. And providing him with access, maybe he liked being close to the seat of power, or maybe he liked being close to what he thought was like a royal family member. Maybe who knows? Because it sounds like he had all the money he needed.
Right.
So maybe it was that sort of access that blew his skirt up. I don't know, but it is interesting. But I don't think. I mean, look, it's just like been kicked to the curb. Obviously, they're doing the trial, I guess, to some degree, but I don't know where they stand.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
We've already swept it under the rug, and there's already news stories out that have got our attention. We forget about things so quickly today. The news cycle is so fast. When something happens, even something as ridiculous as the Epstein case, where it's so obvious that he was murdered, and then Michael Baden goes on 60 Minutes and says this is consistent with someone who was strangled. I've never, in all my years of seeing people hanged, I've never seen them with these kind of fractures. Fractures are indicative of strangulation.
And that is one serious-minded dude too, right?
Michael
that guy,
Baden,
tremendous amount of experience, and he doesn't blow smoke up anybody's ass, right?
No.
He's very measured, and now obviously he was there on behalf of Epstein's brother, I guess. But anyway, it's one of those things where you think, what the heck? Maybe I'm going to put that down as something we should explore.
I want to go visit that cop in jail. See what he's probably got a fur-lined cell
Taglione?
now. Yeah, he's got a giant 72-inch TV.
Right, all the dogs with him.
Yeah, all the dogs are there. What's happening here? He's got wire marks in his hands. Fucking tighten up on that. I mean, if you're going to get someone to strangle your cellmate, that's the guy, too. I mean, he'd fucking do it in 3 seconds. He's so big.
Yeah, you don't want somebody who's got to take their time because they can't exert enough pressure.
You want some Kevin Spacey dude strangling. It's going to take forever.
Hold still.
You want some big gorilla dude.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I tell you what, if this new series I'm doing gets picked up for a second season, well, I'm going to recommend to the producers they put the Epstein case on there, even though it's not quite in line with what we.
No, it has a difference. And then, if you want to go further and talk about the ghosts that show up, there's definitely ghosts too. Did I ever show you the picture of my ghost?
You have a picture of a ghost?
Didn't I show you that? Did I ever show you that, Jamie?
I don't think so.
No?
You have a ghost?
I have a ghost.
Where? Your house?
I apologize if I'm repeating myself.
I don't know if you are. I don't remember the story.
Right.
But
I got one of those Nest cameras.
Oh, the Nest cameras captured a ghost?
And I was at the Comedy Works in Denver.
And the ghost comes with you to Denver?
He opens for me. You want an opener that you can trust.
Yeah.
And I got an alert on my email the first time, like if it senses movement, it alerts you. And I open it up, and there's my dog, Bella, just in the thing. I'm like, this is so cool. I'm just like, I'm in Denver, and I'm looking at my office. And I thought, wouldn't that be a cool beginning of a horror movie if you get an alert on your phone, and back at home there's a guy just staring in the camera of
Jesus
right?
Christ.
That's a good premise for a movie. So then as I'm saying that to my opening act, who wasn't a ghost, I get another alert, and then this comes up. Oh yeah, you can see it up there.
Okay. Why do you have a picture of Chris D'Elia on your wall? He's obsessed with Chris D'Elia. We just found out. Look at that, bro. That's D'Elia. Chris, keep away from Tom. Something you might not know.
I love D'Elia, but that's George Carlin.
That's a man with a wrench.
Yeah, or a man in a trench coat with an Uzi. This is 10 o'clock at night. The only people home are my wife and my daughter. This is on the second floor. There is no shadow coming in the thing. It's a ghost. That's a legit
You don't think
ghost.
that's a person?
That's not a person.
For sure.
My wife is the only one in the house.
And you think that's a gun in his hand? Could be a clipboard. Maybe he's just a really annoying surveyor from the dead.
He's looking
I just
at
like a few moments of your time to fill out this report.
Did you have video of it? Was it moving or something?
No, but I have a video of another thing in the same office, which I could show you.
This is weird.
Yeah.
It looks way different in this picture when it's small than it does when it's large.
Which is scarier.
When it's large, it looks more like a person. Can you make it even bigger, Jamie? Can you make his image larger?
I have a ghost in my house, and then we hear things.
Yeah, see, it seems like, the light is behind him, right? Like
Yeah.
the outside right edge of it is sort of highlighted, like there's a light behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like a gun, though.
It is weird.
I mean, it could be a gun.
And then I got this video.
Could be a Sawzall.
Calling for bread.
Over here, ready to
He's
saw
looking for
some
bread.
Yeah.
He's got a big serrated, big bread
He's
knife.
got an electric serrated chef's knife. Here to chop up some bread, bro. So, have you ever had an experience that you could say you think is probably a ghost that caused that?
Everybody in the house has had a little something.
Is your house old?
It's not old.
How old
but
is
like
it?
Poltergeist.
Right, it's over an Indian burial ground.
You never know.
Dun, dun, dun.
You never know.
What?
Look at this video in the same office from the nest.
You got a video? Let me see what's going on. What am I looking at here?
Did the thing move?
No.
Can you press play again?
Okay.
Same camera. What's that?
It's a bug, bro.
It's a bug?
100%. That's a bug.
How do you know that's a bug?
Because it's a bug. It's moving in
Look
front of
how
the
it's-
camera. It
it's-
flies around.
It's doing loop-de-loops.
Dude, that's a bug. It's probably a moth. Oh my God, you're a little fruitcake.
I'm
You're
not
a crazy person.
that's no bug.
You're a crazy person.
Look how it's sailing.
Is that what they call? Is a fruitcake? Fruitcake is not. That's a gay person.
That's a gay person.
But you can call someone a fruitcake if they're nuts too, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, nuttier than a fruitcake.
Yeah.
Look how that goes. That's no
Bro,
bug.
get the fuck
Look
out
at
of
that.
here. That is 100% a bug. You're out of your mind. That's a bug.
Do you want to see?
I
James?
would bet everything.
Airdrop it to me real quick.
All right,
Dude,
I'll airdrop
yeah,
it to you.
I would be all in that that's a bug.
All right.
That's not a ghost. It's Tinkerbell. That's what it is. Your house is invaded by fairies.
But that ghost, I believe in ghosts.
Really?
And yeah, I do. And then my wife, we've all had little things go on in the house.
Like what kind of little things?
My wife thought someone was standing right behind her. She's doing the laundry. She thought
Was
it
it
was my
you?
daughter, and turned, and there was.
Oh, that's a bug.
It's a fucking bug, right? Thank you,
Jamie.
Jamie. Let's watch this. Let's watch this so everyone at home can laugh at how fucking crazy Tom Papa is. Here we go.
Well, if you first.
Let's watch the bug. Oh, look.
Oh
a
yeah,
fucking bug.
a flat paper
Just
piece
shut
of
your
paper.
mouth.
Oh,
No.
all bugs look like a fortune cookie.
Dude, it's a bug. Listen to me. There's a thing that I got sucked into.
Stop it.
Any bug.
That's a
a
bug.
video artifact. It's because it's moving very fast in front of the screen. There's a precedent to this. You have a
Okay.
low resolution camera that's in front of your desk.
Yes.
Right? This is a security camera, low resolution, doesn't take a lot of frames per second. The reason why it's so elongated is because it's passing by this camera and the thing is taking multiple exposures
Okay.
while it moves through. There's a thing called is that George Carlin behind your desk? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the D'Elia. That's the Chris D'Elia. It moved to the other side
It's
now.
George Carlin. Is that who it actually is?
That's George Carlin.
That's pretty cool. You got that of your desk.
Yeah.
There's a thing called Roswell rods. See how it looks all long like that?
Uh-huh.
And Roswell rods, there was this guy
Okay.
that me and Eddie Bravo back in the smoke too much weed every day days, we were convinced that there were these things that were moving too fast for the human eye to see. And there's gelatinous jellyfish-like creatures that are shaped like a tube.
Where'd you
how
get
they
this
look?
idea?
See how they look? See those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the idea? You'd
Well,
seen
I'd
it?
seen a video. See that one, that black and white one where it showed right above your cursor, Jamie, to the right there. Click on that one.
Yeah.
That sort of iconic image of the Roswell rod had me convinced, like, oh my God, there's these things in the sky, and the only way you could capture them was with video cameras. So they'd set these video cameras up, and they would get these things on video.
Yeah.
And this guy made this documentary. I think a couple of documentaries. I think if you go to RoswellRods.com, he's got a whole website dedicated to it.
Yeah.
It is nothing but a video artifact. Once there's a show called one of those monster shows, fucking one of those
Right.
History Channel shows or Discovery Channel shows.
Yeah.
And they solved the mystery. They set up 2 cameras in front of this fireplace or in front of this campfire.
Yeah.
One of them, was it a campfire? No. I think it was actually a lantern, whatever it was. They set up these 2 cameras. One of them was standard resolution, and the other one was HD. So one of them captured multiple frames per second, like many, many, many frames per
Right.
second, very high resolution. And in that one, you clearly see bugs. Clearly, you see a bug. You see a bug, a very easily defined bug. In the other one,
Yeah.
that's low resolution and it doesn't capture as many frames per second, all those images are stretched out, and it looks like tubes. So, in the
just a-
exact same place at the exact
Right.
same time with 2 cameras right next to each other, you get
Right.
2 very different images. One of them is all stretched out from the low
Right.
resolution camera, like your security camera. The other one is high resolution. You can see it's clearly a bug. I guarantee you, 1,000,000% that is a fucking bug.
All right. I'll buy that one.
See if you can find that.
I'm
Jamie.
convinced. But that other one,
Well, you're
Well, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm
you're a
looking for
ghost lover, bro.
I am a ghost lover. I love all of it. I love being in a spooky old house, a nice old church, theaters.
The Comedy Store belly room scares me sometimes.
Yeah.
I've taken people up there. I go, oh, just stand here and tell me if you don't feel weird.
In the belly room.
There's something about the belly room. When you go above those stairs, it's just like there's something about that room, especially when there's no show going on. It just feels like your body's telling you, get the fuck out of here.
Right?
Let's get out of here.
So what is that?
You're a bitch.
You're in the stairs, not
I'm
me.
a bitch. Me, I'm a bitch. I'm talking to myself.
With the back one, off the main room, the dressing area, whenever you're back there by
yeah.
yourself, that's a weird feeling.
That's a sketchy spot.
yeah, that's a really weird feeling. Isn't that
Well-
where Kinnison said he saw like a... Didn't he see like a quarter move in the air or
He
something?
ate a pound of cocaine that night. that guy snorted so much coke. Who the fuck knows what he saw?
Yeah, he's not a good
No.
scientist.
Well, Carla Bow, who was Kinnison's sidekick, had a great story about getting kicked out of the Comedy Store. And he told it on stage one night that he got kicked out, not of the Comedy Store, excuse me, kicked out of his home. Got in a fight with his wife. You know, get out, fuck you. You know, I'm going to the goddamn Comedy Store.
Yeah.
So he went to the Comedy Store because I think he was working security at the store, so he had keys.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to sleep on this stage. I'm going to make it one day. I'm going to be a big famous comedian. This is my fucking stage. I'm going to sleep here. So he slept there
Main
in the
room?
dark. Main room, in the dark. And he hears something in the background. And he hears like a door, like click, click. And he like picks his head up, pitch black, can't see shit. Hello? It's Carl. Hey, I got kicked out of my house. I'm sleeping here. If anybody's here wondering. And then he hears chairs moving. Clink, 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 clink. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Hello? And then something grabs him by the ankle and pulls him off the stage into the crowd, into where the seats are, crashing into the chairs. And then boom, the door shuts, and boom, another door shuts, and it's gone. And he's laying on the ground in the middle of the main room with a bunch of knocked over chairs. Something had grabbed his ankle and pulled him off the stage. Or he did a lot of coke with Kinnison.
He was, right? He was another one. Yeah.
But it's a great story.
That is a great story.
He told it on stage one night at the store. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
That's a good question. I've never asked the audience if they feel weird in there.
No, I don't think they do. They're drunk.
They're drunk and they're watching a show.
They're having a good time.
Yeah, they're having
They're there
fun.
for fun.